Here we have a normal retina. Here we have one with lots of artifact on it. And here we have an abnormal retina. And this one only has subtle abnormalities. You can see a few yellow dots near the centre. Now it's not always easy to tell the difference. So in this first task, all we ask is to separate the normal from the abnormal. And so here you can see you can go up and choose if you think it's normal or if you think it's abnormal. And then you just go to the next. If you think it's abnormal, it'll ask you to specify what you think is abnormal. And here, if you look very closely, there's just a couple of little yellow spots. So I've just selected the yellow spots there. When you press next, it'll take you to the next eye. And here it says, do you detect any spots or any abnormalities? And here we can see a few little spots all over the place, but they're actually artifact. And in time we'll teach you to separate the two. Our next task is to look at the optic nerve, an extension of the brain. And if you think of the nerve as a hole going out of the eye, in the same way a hole in the ground where cables may be laid, you look for patterns there. So here we can just see some fine cables and thick cables that are being laid down into this hole in the ground. And you can see the way the thin cable drops in takes a sudden downturn, whereas the way the thicker cable drops in is more subtle. You have to look for where you think it first drops in. And these are our markers, our indicators when we look at the nerve in 2 dimensions, head on, as to where the dip may be. And if you look here, it's the inner part of the nerve here, it's the hollow part that we're interested in knowing where that is. When you're able to see the inner and the outer part and compare them as a ratio, this can tell you about the health of the person's eye. And so this is the way we do the task. First question it asks you to mark the fovea, which is the central bullseye, normally a darker patch, and if you can see that, mark it. And then it'll ask you, can you see the optic disc? And if you can, it will ask you to make a box around it. If you can't, it may be that you can't see it at all, you can only see it partially, and you have those options. If you can, mark it and it will zoom in. And now we're going to mark those outer parameters first, and then the inner. The outer bit is really where you see the colour change. So where does it look that little bit lighter? And you go around, just marking a few spots, which show you where is nerve tissue. You can see that darker orange colour is the edge of the nerve. And that's actual nerve tissue. We now want to know where the inner hollow bit is, so when you press next, it takes you to the cup. And this is where you have to look at where the vessels are kinking. So there you see a fine vessel. You can see a little kink there, slightly thicker one, but there's an obvious kink there. And there's a thin vessel there with a kink there. And there's another one we missed with a definite kink. Now on the other side it's a bit more subtle. We think it's probably around there. You start to get a sense of where it will be, but you can see this big vessel here with a definite chunk clink in it there, and there also. And what we're able to then do from that is create various ratios and will tell us all sorts of health of the eye. As soon as you click next, you'll get another one to look at. Here's one where we can't see the fovea. There's a big dark patch covering the eye, so we press next because we can't see it, but you can see the nerve. So you make your box around the nerve, it will zoom in. And when you click next, you get the outer and the inner part. Now this is a not so healthy nerve. You can probably just tell by the general pale colour. But as you go around, you mark the edge of where you think that nerve tissue is. And then when you click next, time to do the inner part. And again, you're looking for where you think there's some vessels kinking. This one's a bit more difficult. Picture's not so clear, vessels are not so obvious. And actually it's quite an unhealthy eye. But by you spotting this, you could potentially save this person going blind. There we go, we mark the spots. If you think you've seen any others, give it a click. And job done.